Okay, fellas, I have a very special video review for you guys, and hopefully I can get this review done in just 2 days. And this is going to be a review of the Jackson Trout Signal 4'8" ultralight bait finesse mountain stream casting rod. Now, if you remember, a few weeks ago I did a video on all these sick barbless hook trout lures that were sent to me by Jackson. Well, they also sent me out this Trout Signal casting rod for review at my request. And as you can see, that's the model number, TRSC 4'8" ultralight. So this is going to be a very short rod. It's 2-piece, and it comes with this very nice, decent quality rod bag. And this is not just for bait finesse guys, they have spinning reels as well. And what better place to do a 2-day video review of a mountain stream bait finesse rod than being out here in the beautiful state of Colorado, where there are literally thousands of kilometers of mountain streams filled with trout. So just in case you're wondering, I'm in the Deckers area. This is one of the more, I guess, pressured trout fisheries here in Colorado. But the reason I come here is because it's very easily accessible. So let's not delay. Let's get on with this 2-day review. So since Jackson is a JDM company, true to most JDM companies, they have went with, I guess, their own styling as far as color choices. And I hope you can see, but it's a traditional BFS trout stream rod. You have the really short cork handle. You got the 1-piece trigger right here, the cork forenut. I believe either this is wood or some kind of a fake wood, but hopefully it's coming through on the camera. The rod blank itself is like a light cream color, and the, I guess, wrappings for the guides are like a dark brownish maroon with bright orange on the ends. Now, I only had room to bring one BFS reel with me on this trip, as I'm just passing through Colorado, and I was struggling to see what reel I could bring that would match up color-wise. I was thinking KASTKING Valiant Eagle 2 Pro, but obviously, since this is a JDM rod, I'm going with a JDM reel. And instead of picking my usual ALDEBARAN BFS, I decided on the most popular bait finesse reel in the world, the 2023 SHIMANO Calcutta CONQUEST. So I'm going to mount this reel on the Trout Signal, spool it up, and let's see if we can catch some trout. Alright, so the combo has been assembled, and let me know what you guys think. I think it turned out really nice, as the dark silver of the Conquest BFS pretty much matches with any rod out there. Now I've decided on 4-pound Berkeley Vanish fluorocarbon, and I chose that line because that was the only line available at Walmart. And that's going to bring me to the lure and line ratings for this rod. Now, they don't have a minimum lure or line rating. What they show you is the maximum lure and line rating. So the maximum lure is 6 grams and the maximum line is 4 pound, which is of course what I have strung up. Now, we're not going to be throwing anything 6 grams, but we're not going to be throwing anything super light either. In fact, we're going to be throwing a lot of those Jackson trout minnows that they sent me, and hopefully we'll benefit from the barbless single hooks. So let's get to casting. All right, so we're here at the first spot, and the way I usually fish Colorado is I run and gun. I hit up a spot. If it doesn't produce, move on to the next one, so on and so forth. But it is a crystal clear bluebird sky day. I don't know if the fish are going to be biting, but we're going to try anyway. And we're going to start off with the Jackson Trout Tune in Yamame pattern. And you can see it says normal, 55 millimeter, 3.5 grams, sinking. So let's tie this on and get to casting. All right, so got the lure tied on. I am using a small snap swivel. That's just for quick lure changes. I might take it off if I feel it's hindering the bite. But it's time to set up this Conquest. So, all right. Spool tension. Gonna loosen it up. And I'm loosening the spool tension quite a bit, and I don't feel that the spool is moving side to side. So once again, with these Shimanos that have silent tune O-rings, if you feel that happening, just pop the spool out, reset it, and then set your spool tension. And I forgot that this Conquest has a side plate that comes completely off. All right, so there we go. So now the spool is moving side to side, and this applies to any Shimano that has the silent tune O-rings, going all the way back to the 2018 Bantam. So if all of a sudden you take your Shimano out and it's backlashing like crazy, do what I just did. Reset the, I guess, the vacuum seal of the silent tune O-ring. So we got a pretty fast fall. And I'm gonna play it safe and turn the brakes up to near maximum just to let the line settle. And here we go. Oh my God, that lure just flew out there. Oh, had a trout chase it all the way to the bank. So there are fish in here. It was probably just barely 3 times the size of the lure though. That's all right. Now, one thing I want to tell you guys is this handle is quite short. As you can see, my hand kind of comes off the side there. And this is some fast water. And yeah, this trout tune is just flashing like crazy. Now, before we cast anymore, I just want to show you guys something. This rod is not one of those composite glass rods that are super moderate for easy flick casting. This is one of those high graphite content, super sharp, pretty stiff types of rods that are made for precision casting, especially where there's a lot of structure obscuring your cast stroke. Of course, we're not in a place like that right now, but yeah, this is not one of those flick casting rods. Now, of course, you can flick cast if you want. It's just not going to be very easy to do compared to a glass rod. But yeah, a rod like this, with how short it is and how crisp it is, it's made for precision accuracy, whether it's to hit a certain spot in the creek or the river, or whether it's to avoid hitting cover and getting snagged. All right, so we got a calm spot behind these boulders. I'm gonna bring this lure right through there. And actually, I don't even feel the need to turn the brakes down, because this river is not that wide, probably, you know, a little over 20 yards across where I'm at. So far, it's handling 3.5 grams perfectly. And in fact, I prefer stiff rods like this for trout minnows, because you can twitch The minnow's way easier with far less, I guess, arm movement or wrist movement to twitch the minnow. Now I have a long-term review of the Mavelos plume coming up, and that is a rod that, in my opinion, is, well, it's awesome and super fun rod. It's just too soft for my preference for twitching trout minnows. Yeah, I don't need to go on the brakes. And the rod is pretty dang sensitive. You can really feel the minnow vibrating. Now, if I have to, I did bring my normal suspending favorite jerk baits for trout, spearhead Ryugi and pointed 48. So we're going to give this spot, let's give it 5 more casts, and then we'll move to the next spot. Jeez, I forgot just what an awesome pleasure it is to cast the Calcutta Conquest. Man, that action of this lure is perfect. It's just like a fleeing minnow. And you barely have to even flick your wrist to send this lure flying with this rod and reel combo. So look, I'm not even going to use any shoulder in this cast. It's just going to be elbow and wrist. Yeah, you can definitely feel once the slack line is picked up with these, I guess I would call them micro guides. How many casts was that? 3? All right, we'll cast the last 2 over this way. Yeah, that action on this lure is top notch. All right, we're gonna do a long cast way down that way. Cover as much water as we can. Uh-oh, I feel the wind coming directly to my face. Let's see what happens. Nothing. Had a couple of fluffs, and I think I have snagged some salad. All right, I didn't like that cast. We're gonna do one more long cast into the wind. Let's see what happens. All right. Now there was a fly fisherman here before I was. He left. Maybe that's why the fish aren't biting, or maybe it's because this is probably the most popular spot in the greater Denver area for people to come trout fishing. So it's highly pressured, but we're going to move to the next spot. All right, we're here at spot 3. Didn't have any luck at the first 2 spots, and we may have some luck here because I've seen some fish kind of jumping out of the water. Hopefully they'll be in the mood for trout minnows. Now I switched up lures to the Duo Realis 50 suspend because it's pretty shallow here, and I do not want to get caught up on the bottom and keep catching salad, but I'm going to cast from back here. Now, the previous spot, there was a lot less room for me to cast, but since this rod is so crisp and precise, it took very little effort for me to make accurate casts and stay clear of the cover. I think I might have to take that snap swivel off or even go to a smaller bait. There's fish right in front of me. They do not want a trout minnow right now. It is the very end of October, and I don't know, maybe they're eating bugs or flies. All right, we'll make 2 more casts, and then I'm gonna switch up lures and take off this snap swivel. I know there's a fish right over there. I'm gonna try to bring it right in front of his face. There's one. I had to make a super long cast to hit where the fish were jumping, and I finally caught one. Oh, it's a little beautiful brown. He just got off, thankfully. I had to resort to the Liquid Craft Pointer 48 suspend, but yeah, the fish were boiling right over there, and for such a light lure and such a stiff rod, I had to turn the brakes down. And of course, I was able to get this Pointer 48 with a long enough cast to hit the strike zone, which was right there. Twitched it a few times, and that little trout took it. Thankfully, he got off without me having to use the pliers to remove these trebles. But the sun is setting, it's getting cold. But this is not the end, because tomorrow I'm going to be going to a river I've never fished before, which is I think it's called the Animas River on the southern portion of Colorado. And I'm going to be hitting up any cool looking stream on the way there. Oh shoot. Just barely casted, and the Conquest casted this lure across the river. But it's definitely going to be new territory for me, trout fishing wise, and hopefully it's going to produce.
So unfortunately, I was not able to fish the Animas River in Durango because I got there too late in the day, and being my first time in Durango, I totally underestimated its layout. But I did manage to stop at a couple of small lakes on the way and do some fishing with the Jackson Trout Signal, and I'm going to give you my opinion of this neat little rod while you watch this footage. Now first of all, let's talk about the price. In the grand scheme of things, when it comes to JDM rods, the Trout Signal is what I would call a budget-friendly offering. It costs under $200, which is a bargain for a Japanese branded rod. In fact, I'm going to leave a link pinned at the top of the comments that will take you right to Jackson USA's Trout Signal page where you can get one. And I do believe their stock is here in the United States, so I don't think you will have to pay any kind of tariffs or import fees. Alright, so what did I think of the Trout Signal after 2 days of fishing? Well, if you use it for what it's designed for, which is short-range precision casting in small streams and rivers that have tight quarters, then it's an absolute weapon. Pair it up with a free casting BFS reel like the Conquest or something similar, keep within the lure sweet spot, and you can just flick your wrist and put your lure exactly where you want it. Now once again, if you're looking for a whippy flip casting rod, this is not it. This rod is very stiff, and I would say it's pretty much an extra fast action. So in my experience, I casted lures from 5 grams all the way down to a little over 1 gram. The sweet spot is right around 3 grams and up. The lowest lure weight I would go to is about 2.5 grams. The reason the rod is so stiff is because it was designed to twitch trout minnows, and it definitely excels at that. With very minimal wrist action, the stiffness of the rod lets you impart action to whatever trout minnow you're using. Now since my rod was only 4 foot 8 inches, making really long casts were somewhat of a challenge, but once again, this rod was not designed for that. Now one thing I definitely noticed is that the rod blank is actually very sensitive. I could feel a lot of the vibrations coming through, and if Jackson used this same blank material to make a bass rod, I think I would buy it. Now unfortunately, I didn't exactly light it up in the fish catching department, only catching 2 fish, with the biggest being this small rainbow I caught at this small lake. And of course, the Trout Signal handled that fish with ease, and it could easily handle much bigger fish as well, I feel. Now with winter coming, a lot of bait finesse guys are going to pivot from bass fishing to trout fishing. And if you're looking for an affordable JDM mountain stream trout rod, this Trout Signal definitely fits the bill. The build quality is top notch. The blank is crisp and surprisingly sensitive. It comes with a quality rod bag, and FYI, since the rod is 2-piece, it actually fit diagonally into my suitcase for my flight back home, so I didn't have to bring a separate rod tube. So once again, there's a link pin in the comment section where you can get one of these rods, and thanks for watching.